I'm Jason UFC, and today we have a story about UFC lightweight contenders. Dustin Poirier reveals his UFC 299 match versus Benoît Saint-Denis is off after a failure to come to terms with the UFC, saying there was never, a contractual agreement. According to former interim lightweight champion Dustin Poirier, his scheduled fight versus Benoît Saint-Denis will not be happening at UFC 299. Okay, we're gonna skip that. We're gonna skip that. We're gonna skip. On the co-main event that had entertainment written all over it, Dustin Poirier was planning to do battle with rising Benoît Saint-Denis, who is getting a opportunity to fight a top 5 lightweight contender. I can't say that if Benoît Saint-Denis wins this match, maybe he jumps into the top 5, but sometimes you don't always jump. I think Dustin Poirier currently is ranked like number 3 in the UFC, so I don't think that if Benoît Saint-Denis wins this match, he's currently ranked I think he's number like 11 or 12 or something like that. I don't think Benoît Saint-Denis, if he won this match, he would jump all the way up to number 3. But I'm an MMA casual, so what the hell do I know? It appears that the pairing won't be present inside the cage on March 9th, as revealed by Dustin the Diamond Poirier himself on social media this week. This is what Dustin Poirier said on Twitter. My fight's off, but I'm still working. Okay, let me see. My fight's off. Benoît Saint-Denis responds to Dustin Poirier cancellation came. With Poirier sharing an image of himself training while claiming to be still working, many expected to hear news of an injury or a withdrawal from Benoît Saint-Denis. It turns out that is not the case. Let me see. Anything else? Because this is taking a lot. Let me see. Benoît, the God of War, Saint-Denis, later confirmed his status for the event himself, insisting that he's still counting down the days until UFC 299. He didn't, however, mention Poirier or an alternative opponent. I can't read French, but I guess translated it says, guys, stay calm, stay focused. I count down the days until UFC 299. I guess this is replying to what Dustin Poirier said. Viva UFC ESPN. Dustin Poirier later shed light on his post, revealing that no contractual agreement was in place prior to the UFC decision to announce the fight. Dustin Poirier noted that they were since unable to come to terms with the organization. Dustin Poirier expands on his recent fights off tweet against Benoît Saint-Denis. There was no contractual agreement before the fight was announced, and wow, that's interesting. This is a interesting turn of events here, right? Like I said, I'm an MMA casual, so I don't follow everything in the sport. When the fight with Dustin Poirier and Benoît Saint-Denis was announced, a lot of people were surprised, right, that Dustin Poirier was going to fight someone ranked outside of the top 10. And another thing that was very surprising is that Dustin Poirier came into this fight like an underdog. I don't know if it was like a 2-1 underdog. I think Benoît Saint-Denis was like a minus 150. Don't quote me on that. But I know Benoît Saint-Denis was a favorite heading into this match. And the only time I remember, maybe not the only time I remember, but the best example that I remember that's happened in a case like this in the last few years was Paulo Costa. Ironically, around the same time, it was around February of last year, Paulo Costa was quote-unquote scheduled or supposed to fight Robert Whittaker in Australia. That was headlined by Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski. But when that fight was first announced, and I mean first announced, Paulo Costa kept saying this fight is not happening. I did not agree to terms with the UFC. Where, like I said, I don't follow everything with the UFC, but I don't remember Dustin Poirier ever denying that this fight was going to take place until now, saying that there was no contractual agreement. So And another thing I want to mention, right, that's where the story gets a little bit weirder, because this co-main event was scheduled for 5 rounds. The UFC specifically said that both fighters wanted this fight to be 5 rounds. So there had to be some kind of contractual agreement, right? Like, I don't understand, how do you have a co-main event, that's not a title fight, and, two contenders who really aren't in title contender at the moment. Dustin Poirier has lost the title like 2 or 3 times. He even lost the BMF title. Dustin Poirier lost the undisputed title to Khabib Nurmagomedov. He lost the undisputed title to Charles Oliveira. He lost the BMF title to Justin Gaethje in his last fight, and he's still ranked number 3. But I do find it weird that, Dustin Poirier said that there was never a contractual agreement. The fight was announced. The fight is basically a month from now, right? Like, I think it's March 9th, right? So that fight is a month from now. And somehow the UFC announced the fight, put the poster up. I don't know if they put the poster up, but to put the graphic up, and they said that the fight, because both fighters wanted this to be a 5-round fight, that this is going to be a 5-round co-main event. And now Dustin Poirier comes out a month before the fight and says the fight is off because there was never a contractual agreement. I don't know what's going on here. This is different than the Paulo Costa situation, because I believe Paulo Costa was working on renewing his contract before the Robert Whittaker fight. And like I said, when that fight was first announced, Paulo Costa came out and said, this fight is not happening. I did not agree to these terms, and the UFC kept putting it out, and then, a few weeks before the fight, it was announced that, Paulo Costa was not fighting Robert Whittaker last year. But, this situation is definitely different. I don't know what's going on with Dustin Poirier. Maybe he's, obviously what everyone is thinking is, hey, maybe Dustin Poirier is going to fight Conor McGregor at UFC 300. Is that a UFC 300 main event? I see Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz for UFC 300. I have no idea what's going on. Right? It's interesting. We're going to have to see what happens. Does Dustin Poirier stay on UFC 299? Does Dustin Poirier fight someone like Gamrod? Who else is there? Beneil Dariush? I don't. Jalen Turner. Dustin Poirier already defeated Bob Dan Hooker. Maybe Dustin Poirier versus Dos Anjos. I don't know. It's up to the UFC and Dustin Poirier. And now we have to figure out what's going to happen with Benoît Saint-Denis. Maybe Denis fights someone like, maybe Denis fights someone like Gamrod or Dariush or Jalen Turner. Right? There's names available right now for the UFC to make some of these fights. So we have to see. Let me know your opinion on this fight. Who do you think Dustin Poirier is going to fight next? Is it going to be Conor McGregor? Or is Dustin Poirier just going to go on some type of, long-term hiatus? Because he's, a lot of other fighters in the lightweight division, he's already fought. And we have to see what happens with Benoît Saint-Denis. Which fighter stays on the card? That's also going to be important. Does Dustin Poirier stay on UFC 299? Does Benoît Saint-Denis stay on UFC 299 with a different opponent? Or with a month left, does the UFC, knowing that this information is now put out there, does the UFC still make this fight? It's not like the fight still can't be made. Maybe the fight is going to be made. Maybe the fight will be at 3 rounds instead of 5 rounds. I think maybe that could be what I was looking at. But like I said, I'm an MMA casual, so what the hell do I know? Let me know your opinion of this story. I'm Jason, UFC. Today we have a story about UFC lightweight contenders. Benoît Saint-Denis versus Dustin Poirier is off of UFC 299. It was the co-main event, 5-round scheduled fight. But that fight will not be happening because according to Dustin the Diamond Poirier, there was no contractual agreement. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button, and please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.